Hello, everyone. My name is Jeremy Powers, owner of Powers Insurance Experts.
And I'm Jim Floyd, owner of Ascent Total Performance.
Today, we are excited to dive into a topic that has been brought to us by a few individuals, and it is what happens when your client or your prospect is ghosting you. That's it. We should have saved this for like a Halloween episode, you know?
No, so I mean, that's a very valid thing that we need to talk about and consider as we're running our businesses, because nobody likes that. Nobody.
I mean, I have a 100% closing ratio, so it's not happened to me. No, I'm just playing. That's a total joke. That is not the truth. But yeah, it hurts a little bit, and you have to be willing to. I've always told growing up, it's like water off a duck's back. You know, never quite understood that until I saw a duck in the pond, and it got out, and there was really no water left. You know, it was dry almost.
So starting this. So what do we mean by ghosting with this? And so, so my interpretation of that is, okay, well, so a customer just doesn't respond to you. They've maybe reached out to you, gone through your funnel or whatever you have set up, but then you just never hear from them again. Or so in our case for patients, and thankfully we're very blessed with awesome patients that most of the time show up, but occasionally we'll just have somebody that just drops off, and we try to contact them. We never hear from them again. And so how do we address that?
That's it. So I think ultimately two big topics. Number one, within the prospecting realm, someone that you're trying to get to become a client.
Yeah.
And number two is someone that's already a client, but they're falling, like you said, off the radar. And so I think for us, those are the two big different styles, because both of them are a completely different approach. And so let's kind of start with the prospecting side of it. Someone's maybe either reached out to you or they've asked for help or a service or a product that you may offer, but then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, they're gone.
Yeah. And so I think even with that, we might want to even back up a little bit and address it from a psychological perspective for us. And so always temptation, and you already said it, was like, man, you kind of feel bad when somebody just doesn't respond to you. But I think what we have to do as a challenge for us, or whoever is in charge of that thing, is that we can't take that personally. And because it's not a reflection most of the time of you, of me, of what we're doing, it's a reflection of where that potential customer, that patient is in their life and their ability to respond, or maybe maybe they just aren't the right fit for what we're doing. So the temptation is to have your feelings hurt. Oh, this patient don't want to come work with me, or that kind of thing, or they're not valuing my time or anything like that. And that may very well be the case, but we also want to make sure that that's not ruling our decision making with how are we following up, or we just, okay, this person, they just never responded to me, so I'm not going to have a relationship with them at all.
Yeah, it's hard. It's very easy, especially in my world, which much like yours, the world of sales, the world of producing. It's always, well, what have you done lately? Yeah. Every day you're hero to zero. And so, for me, when it comes to this, I ultimately want to make sure that three things happen. I want to make sure when it comes to my team or when it comes to myself that we have the prospect in the right funnel.
Yeah.
Because the truth is we should have automation. And although we're not hearing back from them, maybe they've solved their own problem. Maybe they have something else going on right now, and this just is not the most important thing. Because let's just be honest, you always hope that insurance is not the number one thing, or going to a physical therapist, or whatever product you have. I know it's important to you, but to that consumer, they're just simply trying to solve a problem. This is not what they live for. They're just trying to solve a problem, and hopefully you can be that solution. So I think it's number one, just making sure, are they in the right funnel so that you can let go of it and it would still continue to be nurtured for 60, 90, 180, or 6 years. You could have a 180 day, and then they go into a different bucket. And so having all that set up to where you truly can let go of it, because I still do believe they have value. We want to help this customer, but we need to be on focus, moving our focus towards continuing to grow and just letting them be in a nurture type campaign.
Yeah. And you never know. So you have that continued thing, even if you're not getting any response from them, that they may become a customer 2 years from now too. So there's always value in continuing that funnel, that continued communication with it.
That's it. And another way is articulate an email or have a strategy. There's a lot of great books like, Chris Voss, Never Split the Difference. Donald Miller with the book I just read, it was wonderful. Talked about how to articulate an email. A lot of times people have problems and not only do they want you to truly ask them to buy, which is crazy. They're willing to do something, but they want you to ask. But number two, they need to hear it in a way, not like a mind game. You're not trying to, stress someone out to the point where they say, okay, just give me the product. But you need to truly show them that you have the value proposition, the solution to the problem that they're experiencing right now.
Yeah, definitely. And in full transparency with us doing this episode too, I know I'm guilty of ghosting people a lot too. And so, you see some random ad on social media or something like that. And that looks interesting. And I'm going to put in my information, and then you get bombarded with stuff. And I was like, I'm not that level of commitment yet. So I'm just not going to respond to it. And but I think we're thinking a little bit more intentional, and really those patients that we would have coming in, or customers that would come into your agency too. So
that's right. I think you have to be willing to level. Just because someone reaches out, or just because someone, like you said, clicks that link, there has to be a leveling system. And so obviously a level 10 of 10 is going to be, this is a hot lead. And if they all of a sudden stop talking to you, well, then that's kind of a big deal. But we too often believe that everyone's a 10.
Yeah.
Whenever so many people are 1 to 5, and we put these unrealistic expectations on the client's interest in our product, we don't do a good enough job of articulating that it's going to solve their problem and asking. And all of a sudden we're upset whenever it wasn't a sale every time. No one has 1,000% batting average. It's impossible. So we hold ourselves these unrealistic expectations. And I believe, like you said, when you go back to the psychology of it, it can really demotivate your entire day because you weren't even believing it to be what it really was.
Yeah. All right. So I took us on a tangent with that, so we can get back to the other 2 points. So what was the first one?
So the first one, we're talking about the prospects, in which we were kind of in it with the mental thing. But building out a plan for when a prospect, this is someone who has not bought from you yet, or has not used your service yet, when they start ghosting you. We talked about maybe having a funnel or a bucket or some automation will happen, but let's talk about task. What can you do to either create them to become a buyer, or to be willing to let it go?
Yeah. So I think a lot of it comes down to, if you have some defined communication strategies for that customer, then it's also too of just recognizing. So if somebody has not responded, so in our case, we've had not very often, but occasionally someone will schedule an appointment and then they just don't show up, and we call, we don't get a response and all that stuff. So honestly, the first response that we have is we want to make sure this person's okay.
Yeah.
And because they've already shown at least some level of commitment for scheduling an appointment to come in. And so then it's something where, we don't want to pester somebody, but it's also, we truly want to make sure that they're okay, but also we want to be able to help them. So we need to get them in. So we're going to follow up. And so it may be, we're going to shoot them a text initially, send an email, something that's a little bit less intrusive. And just to, but if we don't get a response, we'll probably give it a day or so, but give them a call just to check on them and see, and then if we don't get a response, we might follow up a week later, 2 weeks later, that kind of thing. Last thing I want to do is just continually just harass someone for it. But it's also something too, is we feel like it's our obligation to make sure that this person is going to get the care that they need, and that they're okay.
Well, I think that's important. I think what I love is that you come at it with a heart of compassion. So many people are like, man, you did me wrong. How much money I'm losing because you're not here in this moment. And I've had a few people call me in that. And maybe there was, in my world, a claim happens right as soon as I'm about to walk out the door. And all of a sudden I'm in a 30-minute phone call with someone whose life's been turned upside down. As a selfless person to my own demise, I take care of myself last. And sometimes me doing that, I think about it hurting me and me not caring so much, but I don't realize the fact that now I've got your whole schedule out of whack. You know what I mean? Or the person. So I think it's sometimes realizing when it's us, that's that ghosting customer. Yes, we may feel like we're being selfless. But it's also communication is so important. Let the person know what's going on, even if it's a quick text message. And so I'm speaking to myself here in that moment. But going back to what you said, it's caring about someone. It's reaching out to them. And it's almost that law of reciprocity. Hey, like, are you okay? Are you helpful? Naturally, they're like, you know what? Like, man, I can't believe that I did this. Or I'm so thankful that they cared enough about me. That's why I want to go to them. So I love that approach. And then having that follow up, but also not being overly aggressive. And that one other thing, if your industry allows for it, have some things, some tasks on it. Like, let's just say there's these 5 things that aren't like super crazy important, but you need to get them done. And there's maybe those, if you're in a position where you have those customers who, hey, at a moment's notice, call me and I'll run over because I really want to get in, but you're scheduled 6 months out. You know what I mean? Having those 2 things, like, okay, this has happened and they're not coming. I can either get mad about it or I can do something about it. Let me call this customer and see if they can rush over here, or let me take this list of 5 things that are important but not vital, and let's go ahead and jump into one of those things so that this time's not wasted. It's kind of having a plan of action in case things go sideways.
I think that's a really great idea to have that. All right, so then moving on to the second thing, right?
Second thing is going to be, let's say that you have a client, they've paid you for a service, they paid you for a product, but they haven't come to pick it up yet, or they haven't allowed you to fully deliver on your promise, or they've used you and now all of a sudden you can't get them on the phone because their renewal's coming up and they pay by direct mail, and if they don't pay their bill, their policy's not here any longer. It's all these different things, but it's someone that's used you, that likes you, or you don't know if they now don't. You know what I mean? But like, what do you do when you're getting ghosted by someone that's not a prospect, but they're actually a subscriber, a user, or a product purchaser?
I think some more direct communication is in order with that. So this is somebody you have an established relationship with. And so we need to figure out what's going on, what's the hold up with whether it's you need to communicate with them about renewing a policy. We have a patient that comes in, they come for 3 or 4 visits and they're feeling better, they're feeling good, and then they just don't show up for their next couple of visits, things like that. We need to know what's going on. You know, sometimes in our case, it's like, I was feeling better. So that's awesome. Please let us know. That kind of thing. And so, but then also, so I've had some situations too where I've been treating a patient and they end up going somewhere else. And that's perfectly fine. I want somebody to go wherever they're comfortable going. But that's kind of, but they were more of, they didn't want to hurt my feelings or one of our staff members' feelings. So they just didn't come instead of just canceling the appointment and that kind of thing too. But I think the common denominator of all that is we need to have communication. And so whether it's good news, whether it's bad news, I think we need to kind of know what's going on and where that hiccup is. And it kind of goes back to like an exit interview thing, like we talked in one of the previous episodes of like, we need to, I mean, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, we want to know. So if we need to correct things, we can. Or if we want to celebrate something, we can too.
Absolutely. And I think it's the uncertainty hurts more than reality. You know what I mean? I think that for me is the big thing is like, I'm over here. Are you injured? Is something wrong? You know, do you hate me? And you decided to go to Cancun for a month because, you know, blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean? And so I think that sometimes we're scared we're going to hurt someone, so we don't talk, but it's the silence hurts more than just having open communication. And so I really think that's, you know, extremely important. But let's say that you have a patient that's been coming to you. They're done, time to settle up, and now all of a sudden you're not hearing from that customer. Let's say it's like, oh man, like now it's time for them to, you know, the insurance has paid their portion. Now it's time for that. How does your office, services that have already been rendered, how does your office work on maybe that type of communication loss.
Sure. So with that, so we never want to be construed as being pushy. We understand things come up and all that stuff. And a lot of times, like, especially like a bill thing, some people it gets lost in the shuffle and so we always want to give people benefit of the doubt with that. But so we might send them an email saying, hey, just wanted to check in how you're doing. Just want to remind you we have this balance. We want to make it as easy for you to take care of this as possible. So we're happy to give you a call or do it on our website or whatever it would be, and just start with an initial follow-up like that, whether it's calling them, shooting them an email, just whatever their preference was with that. As things go, if we're continuing to not hear from things, then especially in like a billing situation, we're sending invoices. Hopefully that gets paid, but occasionally we'll have some patients that just kind of keeps going. Yeah. And so at that point, then, we are going to give them a phone call and say, hey, we understand life happens and all kinds of stuff. It's in order for us to continue to provide the care that we do and the value of what we do, we'd really need these things taken care of and that kind of stuff. And we love working with you and all that. And so, we're going to send another invoice, but at some point, we never want to have to do this with anybody, but occasionally you have to send accounts to collections as well. Yeah. And so with that, it's more about, we want to be very upfront about with the communication with that. But I think it's more so of a consistency thing of just making sure that we're being consistent in the communication and following up and taking every opportunity we can to follow up without so much of being able to like pet somebody.
Yeah, and in our world, is E&O is like what you do for one client, you better do for every client. Yeah. And so if you're calling one, you better do it the same way every time. Yep. And what I'll tell you that I found very helpful in my time back as a captive agent, and when I'm training someone, I always talk to them that when we're having these not so fun conversations, I never want to be a glorified bill collector. Yeah. Okay. And I don't ever want us to come across. I want us to come across to our customers that we are here to help. Yep. Hey, we'll use Jim as an example. Hey, Jim, this is Jeremy of Powers Insurance Experts. Hey, we noticed that you've got that outstanding bill of $246. Man, we completely understand life happens. I want to let you know that we can help you with that today. Yep. And if that happens and they say, oh, yeah, things are just tough or whatever, what we're going to do is we're going to say, listen, I completely understand. We're going to meet with the customer, have some communication. We're say, the reason I'm calling you is that, this bill turns into a much larger bill because we have to report to the DMV. Yeah. And if this doesn't get paid, all of a sudden now you've got a suspended license with the DMV. You've got a $500 fee there. You've got to restart an insurance program, which is probably going to have a huge down payment, and you still owe this money. And so I don't ever want to be the guy that's just calling to tell you, hey, give me money. Yeah. What I want to do is protect you from a $250 bill turning into a $1,000 bill. Yeah. And so or if, like you said, it goes to a collection. Hey, we're all working hard. We want to make it happen. This is important. If we can get on some sort of a plan, we're going to be able to protect your credit. We're going to be able to protect, you're out there working hard, making it happen. And I want to partner with you to make this an easy experience. Yeah. Can we talk about a few options? I think when we take an approach of being approachable and being a friend instead of being like, hey, you owe me $240. How do you want to pay that today? Yeah. Those kind of people make me mad, even if I were to get a phone call. Yeah. But when I feel like, man, this person really cares about me, they understand that the world is different, that things are happening, that X, Y, and Z, because maybe I've been out of work because of my leg for 6 weeks, and now all of a sudden things are really starting to, Aflac didn't hasn't had that check hasn't come in yet. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I'm waiting for it. And so I think that it's also the way that we approach it, the way that we, like you said, have that servant heart and wanting to help in the good times and in the bad is really important. Yeah, absolutely. And you should already have an established relationship with this person as well. And so, we do. Thankfully, we don't have this situation very much, but absolutely, we're always willing to work with people because, honestly, we want people to get the care that they need and all that stuff. And so we never want monetary concerns to be a deterrent for getting care or not being able to come as often as they need to or for the full extent of their care and all that stuff. And so when it's somebody that's really struggling or just is not able to, we are happy to try to make something work. And whether we do a payment plan or anything like that. And so there's always options with that. But I think you're right with when you're coming at it from a perspective of
caring for this person and wanting to do what's best for them and what's in their best interest, that's always going to be so much better received than maybe a typical corporate America kind of things of, we're sending you this invoice. If it's not paid within 30 days, we're going to send you collections, and you're going to have bill collectors calling you.
Yeah. So it's intentionality with your people, building relationships, but it's also understanding that process is key.
Yeah.
Because you've got to have the same, everyone in your organization that handles this side of it, what you do for one customer or patient, you have to do for everyone.
Yeah.
It's keeping recorded phone calls and having a database where you're keeping updated notes where we reached out here. If we have the ability to text message, we have that text message. Meet customers where they are. Utilize a card program or something where you can say, hey, please give us a call. However you can reach them, look to do so. Don't be overbearing, but come at it with that right heart and you're good to go.
Yep.
One other thing, and we'll finish off here. I think it's a wonderful thought. Let's just say you have this weird situation where you might sell a service or a product. And so you've got product, customers paid you $3,000 for this product. They picked up 30% of it, but the rest of it's still sitting here.
Yeah.
Or they paid you for a service. Let's just say we paid Yilmaz Media for 20 podcasts. They've done 10 of them, but we're not picking up the phone to record the last 10 podcasts, but they've got our money.
Yeah.
And we've got this deal. And so for me, one of the things that sticks out is like, I truly believe that you should have in your contract, hey, we're only going to make X amount of attempts to do this. And you have to create some sort of thing where you can't have this shadow over your head of things that you can't fulfill, because guess what that's doing? It's taken up, even if it's this much mental space, it's there. Yeah. And so it's a unique position to find yourself in. But how does someone in that position, they've already been paid, they've got their stuff, how would you handle something like that?
Like I said, there's got to be that level of accountability for any potential or current patient or customer. And so honestly, we have a contract. So we go through with every new patient that we're going to outline the plan of care that we're going to do. And it's also something too, one of the things we always ask every patient when we're finishing up that first visit is there anything going on in your life, things like that you might see as a reason for not being able to come consistently and that kind of stuff, because we want to be able to make the greatest change that we can, but that depends on being compliant and doing these things too. Now, if you got some stuff going on in your life that you're not going to be able to do that, that's perfectly fine, but maybe this isn't the right time to be able to do that. But we're establishing that stuff. And so whether it's, say, services like with Yilmaz Media of doing website production, video production, all that stuff, having that defined out of, it's all right, we're contracted to do 20 sessions. There is a reasonable expectation of this is done within this time period. And this is, reasonable expectation for communication between parties and all that kind of stuff. I think as long as you have those things defined and clear from the start, that removes a lot of that issue. But the problem is vast majority of people, especially as we're starting out, we don't have all that stuff because we hadn't thought of those things.
That's right. And so I would just say, as things come up in your small business or as you're growing, when a problem happens, it's not about the fact of that you're in that moment. It's what are you going to do here moving forward? If something continues to happen to you, at the end of the day, at some point, it's going to be shame on you because you're not doing anything about it. And so whether it's prospecting, and we'll do a quick wrap up here and we're going to be done. Prospecting, have a funnel, have areas where it goes where they can still be nurtured, even if they say no to you. Number two, with those current prospects, come at it from a way of relationship, but also processes and accountability to make sure that things are happening. And then set deadlines and guidance. Those are the most important things that you can do to really set yourself apart from not only the competition, but also apart from the struggle of, I can't take this any farther because the ball's it's out the court. The customer took it with them and I can't get it back and I'm just stuck. What we're trying to do is create clarity in your life and not, just jumbled up mess because you've gotten yourself in 16 of these situations.
So thanks so much for tuning in to this scary episode. Hopefully it didn't scare you too much.
That's right. This is a good re-air for Halloween.
Yeah.
Bye, guys.